What does the crisis mean for the Europe and CIS region?
Our region is especially hard hit by the crisis, measured in terms of predictions for GDP growth. Bigger declines in output and income are expected for Europe and CIS, as well as larger declines in employment and bigger increases in poverty. And behind that are a lot of stories of households and people's aspirations and development hopes being frustrated. And that's the great challenge with which we as a development institution have to work.
Why is it important to view the current crisis from a human development perspective?
Human development is a very broad, innovative concept, and it puts people at the center of development. It does recognize the economic potential and economic output as a significant determinant of all the opportunities, but still it focuses on the people's capabilities to be and to do.
How is the crisis affecting women and men differently?
Men and women are affected differently by the crisis due to gender-specific inequalities and prevailing norms about women's and men's role in economy and the society. So the crisis can deepen these inequalities and hamper progress made thus far to achieve gender equality. So let me give you a few examples. The notion that men are the breadwinners of a family can contribute to inequalities in terms of dismissal, rehiring, and social security entitlements. Women are often the first ones to be fired and the last ones to be hired. In addition, women also constitute often the majority of low-skilled workers, of contemporary and seasonal workers that are not covered by employment insurance or social protection schemes. During times of crisis, families also rely more often on women for the care of the elderly, the sick, or the disabled. This creates additional workload for women and additional burden for women who often work also outside of their homes.
What are some of the policy responses that governments, international organizations can take to mitigate the effects of the crisis?
But where I think we can have the biggest role is by taking those projects and programs that we have that are already working in vulnerable communities, in poorer regions, in regions that are post-conflict, in regions where there are many vulnerable people, that can directly improve the quality of their lives by providing them with microfinance, that can provide them with better small-scale infrastructure, that can provide them with opportunities for income and employment generation that they don't have. And this is, I think, the place where in the short term, UNDP can have the biggest role in helping to protect those who are most vulnerable from the effects of the crisis.
What are some of the most interesting ideas that we are publishing in this issue of development and transition?
If I could highlight a few things that are really important, I think, in this issue. One of the big questions that's raised by the crisis is, to what extent has the emphasis upon markets and market reforms been exaggerated? Maybe markets are actually the problem and not the solution, and maybe the whole transition paradigm needs to be reevaluated. A number of articles take this question up. A second area of questions that appear in the newsletter is the whole question of reform of global governance and what changes should be made in structures that go beyond the ability of nation states themselves to address. I think that the reader will find lots of things that are relevant, both in terms of the issues and in terms of the countries in our region in this next issue of development and transition.